That's a bit better. My head's not cut off. Hi everyone. If you don't know already, my name's Charlotte. If you watched my previous videos, welcome back. If you haven't, check them out. So, as I've said in my other videos, I've just come back from 6 months travelling, and I'm just kind of doing like a series on YouTube. So, as you may have already seen, I already spoke about the East Coast in Australia and the North Island in New Zealand. This video is going to be about the South Island. For me, the South Island was a lot more diverse than the North Island. Definitely a lot more scenery to see, and we did a lot more hiking in the South Island compared to the North Island. But New Zealand overall as a whole was just a magical place. One thing that I missed out in the North Island was Hobbiton. Hobbiton, like, is one of the reasons why I wanted to go to New Zealand in the first place. You have the actual Hobbiton set, which costs about nearly $100 to get into, and 100 New Zealand dollars, probably about £50. And that was really cool. It was just like, you're walking around, you're like, saw that in the movie, saw that in the movie. Oh my god, it's Bilbo Baggins' house. Like, it was pretty crazy, but so cool. We went to the pub and you get like a free drink as well. So yeah, and I was with the best people at that time, so it was pretty sick. So yeah, now that I've got that off my chest, I'm going to talk about the South Island now. I hopped off the stray bus for a few days in Wellington because I sprained my ankle, and I wanted a few days to chill and recover from that, and also I was travelling a bit faster than I wanted to, so I wanted time just to like take a breather and then I would hop back on. So I did, and took the boat, the ferry, to the South Island and hopped on the bus with loads of different new people, made a lot of new friends, which was awesome. And there was a lot more activities to do. One of the first major things that we did was we went to Franz Josef Glacier, and here a lot of us did the Heli hike, which was amazing. You're taken in a helicopter, hence the heli bit, and you're transported in this helicopter onto the glacier. And yeah, you got crampons on your feet, they give you these big coats and everything, and yeah, you hike along the glacier for 2 hours or something with an instructor, and it was magical. There was this one point where we saw lots of ice and this waterfall behind it, and a rainbow, and we all took stunning pictures. It was like a dream. It was honestly amazing. I knew as soon as I came to New Zealand, well, I knew before I even came to New Zealand, I knew like a year ago that if I was ever to do a skydive, it was going to be in New Zealand. And I don't know why I got into my head. I think I heard it was like the second best skydive to do in the world, like view-wise. But when I got into New Zealand, I just knew that I wanted to do my skydive at the Fox Glacier. I think it was one of the most expensive, I think it was the second most expensive skydive to do that we had the choice of doing whilst in New Zealand with the straight bus. But at the same time I was like, you know what, I'm doing this. I've had my heart set on it since I came to New Zealand. I am not gonna do it. It ended up being on the same day as the heli hike, so that was a pretty expensive day for me, like literally £500 worth of activities in that day. But I was gonna spend that money anyway, even if I did do the skydive in a different place. I'm so glad, I'm so happy I did it. It was, oh god, you will see in the video after this some clips of me doing the skydive, and I look ridiculous because I'm in this big red and black boiler suit with a hat on with gloves, and I look stupid, but I honestly don't care. It was the most incredible feeling, better than I imagined it. I wasn't really that nervous. I only started shaking a bit when we were at 7,000 feet in the little plane, and the guy told me that we were at that high and it started to get really cold, and I don't know whether I was shaking because I was nervous or shaking because I was that cold, but either way, like, I think at that point, that's when I was like, you know, got the feeling in my belly that I was maybe gonna die. Okay, so the worst bit is when you're hanging out the airplane, you have to hold on to your straps. It's kind of good that I'm wearing this. Hold on to your straps for the parachute that's connecting you to the instructor, and you're literally leaning out like this. Hello. There's wind in your face, like ice cold wind in your face, and then the instructor is like 3, 2, 1, and then just pushes you forward and you start falling, and it is the most magical feeling. You feel so weightless, and I can't describe it. Like, it's really hard to describe, but it was magical. I loved it. I'm so glad I did it. But I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about Wanaka. It was one of the most stunning places that I've ever been to. When people ask me like, oh, where was your favourite place, I say New Zealand, and they'll be like, oh, is there a specific town or area in New Zealand? And I always said Wanaka. It was just stunning. Like, we went when it was autumn, and just the colour of the leaves were just so autumnal and beautiful. We took a short walk at one point, and I was like, I don't want this walk to end, because just looking around, it was so stunning. And at that point my GoPro was dead, so I'm gonna try and steal a picture from one of my friends that I made on the trip. So Wanaka, if you ever go to New Zealand, make sure you check out Wanaka, because not a lot of people do, and it is definitely worth it. So after Wanaka we went to Queenstown, which is like, I think it's like the party capital of New Zealand. There's so many bars there, and lots of people just go bar hopping all the time. There were a few occasions where I got pretty drunk, not gonna lie. One occasion I did throw up a lot, but we'll ignore that. Me, Georgina and Suze all went and did the canyon swing together, the Nevis swing. It's like the largest swing in the world. It's 300 meters long. I didn't think, especially after doing the skydive, I really didn't think that I'd be scared for this, but as soon as we got to the place and I saw that you had to literally go along this bridge to this little, I don't know, cabin pod thing, literally in the middle of the canyon. Like, it was held up with all these metal frames and stuff. Held up, sorry, not hold up. With all these metal frames, and I was like, I was freaking out a little bit. It suddenly dawned on me that, you know, those rides at fairs and stuff where you sit on a swing and it goes round and round and round, it goes higher and higher and higher. I suddenly remembered in that moment that I really do not like those rides. That I freak out so much when I'm on those rides, and I have to close my eyes, and we decided to go backwards. Loads of people said, oh, why'd you go backwards? Like, forwards is so much better. I was like, nah, I ain't looking at the floor that I'm hurtling towards. I wanna not know what's coming up behind me. The lady controlling it, she was like, oh, you sure you want to hold on to the blue strap? I was like, yeah. She goes, if you're gonna hold on to the blue strap, make sure you hold on to the yellow and red strap. So when I looked to hold on to that, that's when she pressed the button, which was so good because it made me forget about being scared for, I don't know, 2 seconds. And then she did it. I was like, oh, we're falling. And Georgina was absolutely loving it. She was laughing her head off and stuff, like smiling away, and I was just like I felt sorry for her that she had to go with me. Other places we went were Stewart Island and Milford Sounds. It's like an extended bit on the Maximus Pass. That was pretty sick. The weather wasn't so good for Milford Sound, so we didn't really see like it in all of its glory, but it was still wonderful. Stewart Island is meant to be like the place where a lot of the Kiwis live. If you don't know, Kiwi is like a small little bird native to New Zealand. I've got a little toy actually, which I will show you. That's what a Kiwi is. Put my finger up its bum. They are cute little creatures, and no, I don't think I've ever seen one in real life actually. I was thinking if I'd seen one in a zoo or not, but I don't think I have. Yeah, usually when you go to Stewart Island, like, because they're nocturnal, you go out at night looking for them. And there was a group of us. At one point we did hear one screeching because they've got quite a distinctive screech. We went all these really dark places, but we didn't see one, which is fair enough. Like, they're probably scared to see people or come near people, so, but you know, it was still fun. So after doing the Deep South, we went back up to Queenstown for I think one or 2 nights. I think it might have been 2 nights actually. And then after that it was Mount Cook. Kind of wish I stayed there longer because just like Milford Sounds, it's very cloudy whilst we were there. We were heading into winter anyway, so we didn't expect too much sun, but you literally couldn't see Mount Cook, which was kind of disappointing. After that, me, Lena and Suze all decided to stay in Lake Tekapo, I don't know if you got the name, for 2 nights I think it was. Absolutely stunning place, a bit like Wanaka. It was a really good place to go stargazing, and I think that was the first time I'd actually ever seen the Southern Cross. I really love my space and stars and stuff. Yeah, there was this girl at the YHA hostel that me and Lena both stayed at who, you know, she loved her stargazing, that's why she was staying in Lake Tekapo. And she told us like a good place to go and look at the stars, and then she taught me how to spot the Southern Cross. And it was this thing that you do where you line up one hand on the side of the cross, then the other, then you clap and bow. Something like that. I don't know what that's meant to actually do. We hopped back on the bus 2 days later, and Katie, who was on our bus at the start of the South Island, was there as well. And yeah, so we ended up on the same bus as her, and went to Christchurch together. Christchurch was really interesting. I'd heard so many people say don't bother going there because after the earthquake it's just so, there's nothing there, it's just roadworks everywhere. And I was like, yeah, that may be the case, but it's still a city. It reminded me of like a city in America, like with the layout is like blocks everywhere. Like in the centre of Christchurch, they'd even made shops out of containers, which was awesome. There was even a bank, like an ATM machine on a container, on the outside of a container, because obviously loads of shops and everything got ruined during the earthquake. So, you know, that was their way of rebuilding their city a little bit. So me and Lena hopped back on the bus a few days later. I was heading back up to Auckland. I was going to stop off in Lake Taupo along the way, in Wellington for a few days as well, so I can catch up with Lorraine and Jason. And also because I had a few days and I didn't want to spend a long time in Auckland, because I found Auckland just isn't New Zealand. It's just, even compared to Wellington, it's just a bit too westernized, I guess. It's very cramped. It's just not the best city. There's not a lot to do around it unless you go to Mount Eden or something. Lena actually decided to go and do a yoga retreat for about a week and a half. So sadly I had to say bye to her and bye to Katie, It was getting kind of emotional because I didn't want my time in New Zealand to end. It was such a great place to be. I loved every second of it, and I do hope to go back. It's even like in my head that I may go back and do a working holiday visa there one day. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year or something. Then yeah, I made my way back to Auckland, stayed there for one night, and then I flew to Fiji the next day. I really hope you enjoyed that. I would say New Zealand is definitely my favourite place that I went to out of my whole trip. My whole 6 months, New Zealand was the place. It's so much more diverse than Australia, and I loved how they really respected the native New Zealanders' culture, the Maori people's culture. Compared to Australia, it's like the Aboriginals are sort of shoved to the side and the Western people basically moved in, and there's not a great relationship there at all. And I found it interesting how children from Maori families, they don't learn English until they're 5. They learn the Maori language first, and they go to Maori schools. They have their own system of things, and that is just like the norm. It's not frowned upon. It's not like people are saying, why do they do that? That's not right. They should be going to normal schools and be learning English as their first language. It's not like that at all. It's like, no, that's their culture. They do that. So I really love that aspect of it. As I always say, if you have any questions, you want to know more about my experience in New Zealand, you want to go solo traveling yourself, you're a bit worried, you're not sure what to do, how to go about it, you want to know more about traveling around New Zealand in general, or Australia, or anywhere else that I've been, please don't hesitate to ask me. As I've said before, I love talking about my experience. I love trying to convince people to go and do it themselves. For me, solo travel was the best thing I've ever done, the best decision I've ever made, and it's the most freeing thing. I hope other people will want to do this. Yeah, the next video that I'm going to do will be on Fiji. Fiji was an interesting place. I've got a very funny story to tell. Yeah, I thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, like, subscribe. I'm cringing as I say these things though, like and I'll see you again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Wow, let's have a look now, shall we? Make sure it's all good.
Don't freak me out.
Don't say that because they will. I know.
Alrighty, have you had a good look behind you?
I don't want to.
Good.
I don't want to.
Okay, look.
I'll look on the down there. Okay, that's cool. I'll take a word for it. I've seen you before.
There are 3 pet little sheep.
Oh, no.
Come on, come on.
Oh, shit.
Okay guys, we're going to get some more photos. So we're going back to the camera here. So you've got the yellow and red ones in here as well.
Oh my god. Ty vole, tam prostě na ty znamená. To jste neviděl, to si dáš pět, dáš úplně použil.
You can look at the sheep now.
Glacier gravity.
Take it all in.
How was it?
It was so good.
You want to go?
No, it's Alright guys, put your feet up. Hold high on the blue ones, you'll be able to stand yourself up. That's it. And then we'll say goodbye to the camera over that way.